Well, good morning, everybody. If there's anybody out there, boy, everybody is certainly rocking and rolling close to New Zealand at the moment. So I know that there are still a few people hanging on there, missing our glorious weather. Good morning to you. This is Patricia and David, Gulf Harbour Radio on ZMH 286. And we have a glorious day. 19er at the moment. Can you believe it? I don't think I've ever put 19 degrees down when we've started the net. This was an hour or so ago. 1017.4 rising. 4 knots from the northeast. Might have just picked up a little bit, might be 5. But anyway, clear skies. Oh no, there's a bit to the north there. Didn't see that before. Won't last, says the doom and gloom beside me. But anyway, absolutely glorious. Yesterday was another fabulous day, just clear and brilliant. And it's Friday. Wow, we love Fridays. It means we can actually get something done that's not related to weather. A lot of people have arrived, which is great to see. Whistler got into Marsden. Malachite got into Opua. Intrinsic 50 miles north of Opua. They actually got a bit of wind up there, 10 to 15 knots from the northeast, half a metre swell, 90% cloud cover. Oh, it's a bit cloudy up there. So that's good news for those people that are probably running out of fuel. So really, really good that you have got that wind up there. Shimata this morning, Shimata left New Caledonia, and they are at 2315 and 16907. I might see if I can hear you on the radio, John. Anyway, they're motoring 5 knots of southwest wind, half a metre west-southwest swell, 1012 on the bar. And needless to say, they've got a fair way to go, 850 miles. But by the time we hear them on Monday, that will have rapidly diminished. I'll just give a call. Shimata, Gulf Harbour Radio. Can anybody copy Shimata?
I don't think anybody's there.
No, we don't think anybody's actually out there. Some of you will carry on because some of you listen later from the streaming. But anyway, if anybody is out there, Sago, good morning to you guys. They are up there on their way from Fiji. Yes, I think so. Anyway, I'll just get on to some news that will keep us going. And David has a huge pile of weather this morning, and that will mean he can start right on the hour. So we have, what do we have? Oh, just a bit of a follow-up from the fact that we were warning all you newcomers to New Zealand about how quickly you burn here. There was further explanation in the paper, and the reason we burn a lot quicker here than in other parts of the world, which do in fact have probably hotter weather, there are 3 reasons. One is that there is less ozone here to block the UV rays. The ozone layer or the ozone hole is actually moving a bit, so we might not burn quite so much this year. It's angling more towards South America now, but needless to say, it is there, and that's why we actually burn quicker, because the hole is there, and therefore there's not enough to block the UV rays. The second reason is that the Earth's orbit takes us closer to the sun in our summer than the northern summer does.
That's the biggest one.
That is the biggest one, according to the guru beside me here. So we are, in fact, in our summer, closer to the sun than the European folk are in their summer. And of course, number 3 is there's less pollution here. If you see any photos from summer days in Germany and France and so on, you see quite a haze. Well, you don't see that here because usually we have our wind to blow anything away. So we don't have too much in the way of pollution, being a fairly tiny country with a lot of sea maritime effect here. The UV index measures the burning strength, and the highest possible level is 20. Higher than 10 can evidently damage the skin. Now, the Mediterranean in high summer has a UV index of between 9 and 10, Florida has only a very few days in summer where it reaches 12, but New Zealand often exceeds 12. In the far north, it's around 14. So you best pay attention to that and make sure that even if you haven't used sunscreen in the islands, you will need it in New Zealand, and you need to apply it every couple of hours. If you want the UV index, you can get it off the Met Service site. It's a little bit
They don't give
difficult.
a number.
Oh, they don't give a number, just
No.
a high, medium, or
Yeah.
whatever. Okay. So anyway, they do comment about it, but I think that sort of comment you can work out yourselves. Going to France now, it is going to impose quotas on the number of foreign workers that they get from outside the EU. This is part of the measures aimed at addressing the really quite significant and growing concerns now about immigration, asylum and integration. Access to medical care is going to be cut for those who have no right to stay, and the migrant camps northeast of Paris are going to be cleared by the end of the year. So it looks like a lot of, after I talked yesterday about the amount of billions of dollars that are going into border control, they are certainly going to, well, I hope it's not too late. Certainly in France there is quite a significant problem there. But anyway, they are addressing it. I found a very interesting statistic last night. The median age of presidents when they get inaugurated in the USA, it's 55. Now, this is not the average, folks. Remember your mathematics. The median means that there is an equal number higher and lower. Now, Mr. Trump, he was the oldest sworn in of all presidents. 70 years old he was when he got sworn in. President Reagan was 69. But the reason that they had this article was that the Democratic hopefuls, if elected, Elizabeth Warren would be 71, Biden would be 78. Good God, he'd go to be an octogenarian before he even finished his first term. Bernie Sanders, 79. And Mr. Trump himself, if he got a second term, would be 74, I think it is. So there you go. Boy, I can remember chuckling in the old days when I was younger about the ancients that used to rule China, and what a mess they made of it until they got rid of all them and brought in some younger, brighter, intelligent people. It does make you worry for the United States with ancients like that appearing to be coming through. Okay, Royal Caribbean, for those of you in Vanuatu, this is quite interesting. This is the cruise line people. They are spending millions on Vanuatu's survivor island. This is Lilipa. It's the one on the northwest side entrance of Havana Harbour. If you're going from Port Vila, not that you can at the moment to Havana because you're not allowed to, but if you were, then you pass Lilipa on the northwest side. I don't think there's much in the way of an anchorage there, except if you're a big cruise ship. But anyway, they have now got a 75-year lease on about 145 hectares so that ships can give their passengers an authentic Melanesian South Pacific beach experience. They have about 5,000 passengers on a day trip going to places like this. It's going to all be ready by 2022. So there you go, Lilipa. Talking about cruise ships, New Zealand now has new rules to limit the number of cruise ships arriving at the same time in some of our sensitive areas. This summer there's 132 cruise ships expected to visit southern New Zealand, and the environmental Southland folk have decided that only 2 ships can be in any waterway, passage, field, bay, inlet, whatever, at any one time. I would think that would be actually quite sensible from a cruise ship point of view, because the ovation of the seas is 347 metres long. I can't imagine how it sort of orients itself to turn around if there was another couple of cruise ships in field land. But anyway, that's the story. They're trying to limit the amount of, just the environmental impact of just seeing such huge vessels in what is an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful area. Okay, that's about all I want to comment on this morning. We have so much weather to cover that I think we'll get straight onto it. Let's have a look here. Dead around 95% cloud cover, 10 knots of northerly wind, 1009. We should have sent Amazing Grace a coin. They could toss it. We did enjoy the comment that came back from the discussions yesterday. There was a similarity, John reckons, between the procrastination skills of lawyers and meteorologists. Andy Amos in Savu Savu, 1010.9, 90% cloud cover, a similar situation. Analysis paralysis has set in. All right, folks, let's see what the boss has got to say here. I'll just give a pause to see if there's anyone wanting to give a report from being on passage. Okay, there's just the report from Shandon. Gosh, the ETA is going one night to the next, but he's now in quite a good position, northeast 13, and that's at 34 south and 174 east. So motoring with the help from the wind, northeast 13. So that's really good. All right, folks, I didn't hear anybody else. I suppose, ask if there are any relays. Nothing heard. Boy, Diego and Marina are actually up this morning. Good morning to you and Numia. Enjoying your last weekend there, probably. 20 degrees there, 1009. Okay, here's David.
All right, good morning. I see a tremendous amount of activity in the Tasman all the way down into the Southern Ocean. We've got trough fronts covering the entire broad area there. It's amazing. The New Zealand high, as we call it, has moved east a bit. The center is roughly at 38 south and 175 west. 38, 175. Now another high lies north of Bundaberg. Centered pretty much on the Australian coast, and that's pushing a ridge off to the east. Now, between New Zealand and we'll call it Vanuatu, New Caledonia, we've got three very small subtropical lows that are sitting there. Very, very small in size, producing quite a bit of cloud, though, with one substantial trough that runs northwards, angles around over Fiji. Now, it's this trough that the folks that are trying to head south to New Zealand are going to find in their path. More about that in a minute. So now we have a number of yachts that have left late on this last window. We haven't been able to talk with just with a few because they're quite a way south now, more than halfway to New Zealand. So anyhow, this is a good time probably to discuss Sierra Brett, which is the weather near and including Papua. So at this time, for those boats that are approaching, this pretty much is the situation. We've got northeasterlies, as Patricia had said, we've got them here. They're preceding a whole series of fronts today that are going to be bringing showers. Not a whole lot of wind today, but Saturday, expect northeast 20 to 25. There'll be some 30s and occasional rain coming in. Sunday, northerly 20 knots, getting up to 30 on occasion with rain. And then on Monday, shifting to the southwest, 15 to 20, gusting up to 35 maybe, with showers and rain on occasion. Now, I'm not seeing sustained high winds in this. Maybe some shorter gusts that aren't very pleasant, but no long-term violent winds. So those late incoming yachts shouldn't have a horrendous arrival at all. But beware of poor visibility. Arrival now on the 13th, Wednesday, still is the best choice. Most of these troughs and fronts will have moved off. And the 13th gets you in before the next front arrives. And that next frontal band, based on the current model runs, looks to be Thursday. That's the 14th. Now this ban moves off on Friday, but it extends all the way out to Norfolk Island. So any of the yachts that are in that vicinity are going to encounter trough conditions. Now by the next weekend, Saturday and Sunday, that'd be the 16th, 17th, a high is going to establish itself over the cruising routes. So that's pretty good news. Now an arrival at New Zealand still looks pretty decent. Tuesday, November 19th. We've been bantering about that date now for almost a week. Well, it still looks pretty decent. Those in the starting blocks up there in Fiji are going to have trough conditions for the next few days. The winds today, northeasterlies, probably 15 to 20. You might get some gusts, 25 or so. Depends on whether or not you're underneath a thunderstorm. Saturday, a little bit better, northeast 10 to 15, but the gusts could get up to 25 or so, maybe even stronger. The winds are favorable right through Sunday, but we're going to see a shift on Monday, and that'll be south-southwest around 15 knots, and that will extend down to 25 south. Actually, might even get some westerlies if you're still on the trough fringe. It depends if you put any westing in or not. Tuesday, there's headwinds, about 10 to 15 knots. And on Wednesday, that high moves to just north of New Zealand. So the winds are going to back to the east-southeast to southeast. Now by Thursday, the 14th, 28 south to New Zealand, the winds are going to back further to become northwesterlies. And that'll be quite fresh. Closer to New Zealand, I think we're looking at 20 to 25 knots, and this is going to be near 30, 31 south. So in summary, for the Fiji yachts who leave about now, Saturday looks a little bit better than today. Now, EC still sees cyclonic winds just to the southwest of Viti Levu. Those of you that are looking at your models will see that. So that'll happen over this weekend, and even a short-lived single isobar pops up, and that's near 20 and 175 east. That's on Sunday. And then we've got headwinds on Monday, the 11th. So that's another view of what's going to happen. Now, like I said, we're going to have trough conditions for a few days. Those of you leaving the Fiji area or in Fiji. Going to be a period of light to moderate headwinds as you head south, and then light air for a bit as you continue south. And after this, the winds start to back even more. You'll start to get nice northwesterlies. And as I said, arrival still looks okay for the 19th. Remember the front on the 14th, though, for those that are really, really fast, but I don't think you'd be there before then. Anyhow, once that front passes, arrival the weekend, the 16th through 17th of November, that looks okay too, and appears to be good right through the 19th. So we have a period of time, the 16th through the 19th, not too bad. Now, I'm going to hold off on the NuCal yachts for a second. There, in the little question and answer thing that we had yesterday, there was a question about what if we waited a week. So those of you that are thinking about that, I'm looking at Friday, which I think is the 15th. Now there may be a high then over New Zealand and a high in the Oz Bight. And as many of you know, I personally have thought that's a good passage sign when I see highs in those two locations. It's just sort of something that I look for. As far as I dare to go out, which is over 380 hours, Saturday the 23rd looks pretty decent on the current model runs, and also decent passage weather en route. Last night when I answered that little question and answer thing, it didn't look very good, but this morning the models have changed a little bit, and so it doesn't look good. So in other words, waiting until this coming Friday roughly, to take off, getting in around the 23rd. Should be able to do that. That looks like a pretty good possibility for those of you that don't want to deal with that trough and the headwinds, even though the headwinds aren't strong. But that's looks like an option for you. Now, the New Caledonia yachts that are trying to head for New Zealand, there's only one we know of that did take off. Might not like the picture, really. By Monday the 19th, as the high moves on to the Tasman, that's pretty much east of Bundaberg and Brisbane, by the way, it's going to provide headwinds on the run line. And by Wednesday, the high is going to be east of Norfolk. And that's when you're going to pick up northwest winds. But hang on, folks.
Monday is over 10 days ago, 19th. The next Monday is the 11th.
Monday the 19th. I'm talking about future 19th. No, I may have my dates wrong, but anyway, by this coming Monday, let's put it that way, the high is going to move, like I said, east of Bundaberg and Brisbane. And it is, like I said, going to provide headwinds on the run line. Then Wednesday, the high is going to be just east of Norfolk again, and that is when you'll pick up the northwesterly winds. But then here comes the frontal band over New Zealand at that time, and that's going to extend to Norfolk. So depending upon how fast you are, where you are at that point, you might be passing through that trough. Once it clears, though, by Friday, then you should have westerlies into New Zealand. So that's the NewCal trip to New Zealand. It doesn't look particularly nice. Be a lot of motor sailing, which I think this one person is doing right now, and then a headwind period and the trough. So anyhow, well, we've covered the option of leaving to New Zealand for about a week, so that's something for you folks to think about. So lastly, we'll quickly look at the island groups, the weather there. At Tonga, on satellite image early this morning, it shows plenty of cloud, plenty of scattered to broken cloud. So I would expect possible showers for the weekend. Winds today look quite light, east to east northeast in the 10 knot range. The same Saturday, we'll call it around 15 knots. Sunday, easterlies, maybe 15 to 20, a little bit more air. Tonga Tapu, barometric pressure, 1014.7, and the relative humidity, 97%. Yuck, is all I can say for that. Be dripping wet down there. And good old Fiji has that trough. That'll keep your skin nice and moist. This trough extends all the way up from New Zealand. It's the west of there. It's over New Zealand. Anyhow, a lot of cloud between New Zealand and Fiji and over Fiji. And it's going to hang around probably until Monday. So expect the usual trough conditions for the weekend. Showers, occasional thunderstorms, that sort of thing. Early this morning, imagery doesn't show much in it, quite frankly, but that can very quickly change. Now, I'm seeing winds from nearly all points on the compass this morning. Example, northeast for the Lau, the Coral Sea, Kadabu, northerlies around Vanua-Levu, northwesterlies for Yasawas and the area north of Yasawas, and southwest winds west of Viti-Levu. It's all over. Tomorrow, the wind's pretty much the same. Actually, I see cyclonic flow around Fiji for tomorrow. Very light, but still spinning clockwise. As I said, not fresh, not strong. Maybe getting up to 15 to 20, but I don't think more than that. Now, if you are under a CB, you know the story there. Now, Sunday, the winds are going to be mostly northerly quadrant. That's quite nice to get away. Departure type of a situation on Sunday, for those of you that are waiting a little bit to let this trough do its thing. So there you go. That's the weekend for Fiji. And Vanuatu, that looks pretty good on imagery, mostly fair. is scattered cloud, but I see cloud off to the west that's heading rather smartly toward the chain, so we could get showers out of this for the weekend. We'll just have to watch it. The wind's fairly light, southeast 10 to 15 for the bottom half, and southerlies for the northern half. Pretty light air for Saturday. A fair bit of directional convergence is what I see. On Sunday, there's going to be a mix of southeast and southerly winds, even some light west-southwest in a few areas. Very, very hard to discern direction for Vanuatu on Sunday. And finally, New Caledonia, mostly fair, scattered cloud moving in. So today, partly cloudy, lovely sun, wind southwest 8 to 10 in the lagoon area, becoming quite light and variable tonight. On Saturday, scattered cloud again, wind still light and variable. And Sunday, I would say west to west-southwest, about 10 to 15, and partly cloudy then as well. So the actual conditions early this morning, the outer reef, west-southwest 6 to 10, Ile de Pan was southwest 3 to 6, and Noumea north-northwest to west about 3 to 9, and the barometric pressure 1011.5. You want to check your barometer, 1011.5. So that's it, folks. That's your weekend, and I'm anxious to see who makes their break from that good old Fiji and other areas. And again, if you do leave, we really would appreciate an update on the weather that you're experiencing, so I could compare that with the models. That would be good. So let us know what you're up to. Here's the chief.
Yes, we had a bit of problem with somebody who we didn't know left and sent some rather unfortunate emails. Okay, we have Messatroy wanting to go to Australia, and you forgot about Australia again. Arriving Sunday. Don't forget, folks, there's very high costs for arriving in Australia on a weekend, so it's always best to slow down and try and arrive on a Monday morning. But David needs to look at Monday, Tuesday, possibly departure to Brisbane from Noumea and arriving on about the 17th, which is a Sunday, so maybe going into the 18th. And Pilgrim and Diamo will have a look at that. Probably Monday would be the best thing because they give a couple more days to get a bit closer. Arriving on the 20th after David's finished looking at this Brisbane trip, we'll have a look at arriving in New Zealand around the 2021 time frame. But while he's doing that, is there anybody else?
Okay, for NewCal on Monday. Now, this is probably different modeling from what you're looking at, but anyhow, I'm seeing southeast winds about 15 knots. There's some areas of 15 to 20 further north on Grand Terre, but heading for, where are they going?
Brisbane.
To Brisbane. Okay, so on Tuesday, the winds are going to be about 15 to 20 still out of the southeast. And on the 13th, as you maybe get that halfway across, the winds are going to back. They're going to go northeast. They're going to lighten up quite a bit. I would say about 10 to 15 knots. And as far as I really can go is Thursday, and the wind's really back. You're going to be looking at northeast. Depending upon where you are, if you get even further than that, they might be northwest. And there's going to be, looks like a little bit of trough activity along about 26 south, which is right about where Brisbane is. That's 14th, 15th, but I'm not sure about that. But anyhow, Monday, we'll be able to give a good update for that journey. But that's what it's looking like for starting from Monday through Thursday anyway.
Okay, and whilst you're just looking at a different model, how about looking at New Zealand arrival on the 2021 time frame? Because Pilgrim advises there's about 4 boats in Port Vila looking to come to New Zealand. They're looking at possibly a Wednesday departure, so we can in fact update this on Monday. But what does your long-term model look like for arriving on the 20th and 21st? Andy Amo are looking at the same thing from Savu. So he's looking, folks. Oh, and by the way, I had cause to look at spam yesterday to try and find an email, and I actually found 2 emails from cruises. Both of them we've had previous emails and subsequent emails, in fact, coming into our inbox as per normal, but these 2 were in our spam, which gets emptied every week. So apologies if there has been something that somebody has said and our extra system has decided to throw it somewhere that we can't find it. But normally we would certainly respond, unless we respond to a question on air the following morning. Anyway, here's a look at arriving to New Zealand around the 20th.
All right, it doesn't look too bad at all. Remember, this is 300 hours that we're looking at, so that's quite a bit of time out for these models to be any kind of accurate. Now, I think I told everybody that I was seeing a depression over New Zealand on or around the 20th. The good part is the center of it is far to the south, or to the south. So we're going to get cyclonic flow over the northern part of New Zealand arrival, but it looks like the winds are going to be northwest and fairly light. So I don't think that there's a frontal band involved in this, and there probably might be. It looks like pretty light air at this time. We can talk about it early next week, since you're not going to leave until Wednesday, and get a better idea. But offhand, it looks okay if you want to arrive about that point. The idea of leaving a few days even later than that might have some merit, because that low will have moved off. So that's what it looks like now. We'll talk about it on Monday.
All right, and we're going to look forward to a wet and not very pleasant weekend here, so I hope it's a lot better where you guys are.
It's cloud.
It's cloud, yes. It's cancel what I said about it only having a little bit of cloud in the north, because it's now creeping towards us.
It's going to rain.
It's going to rain, says David. All right, but we have had a glorious week, so we're not too worried. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy Opua if people are up there. It's cloudy here already, so I guess we have to accept what we get this weekend. At least it's been lovely for those that have arrived over the last few days, keeping the customs people very busy. All right, is there make one final call? Is there anybody else? I don't know that there's too many people out there. Have a good weekend, everybody. The frequency's all yours. Yeehaw!